How's it going, everybody? Snap right into it. Let's get our Michael Jackson glove. It's not Michael Jackson glove if he was a gardener. Like, what am I talking about? Anyway, hi guys, how's it going? Yes, Ben, it has been a little while. La, 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 la. Okay. Yes, it has been a while. Hello, everybody. How you all doing? I hope everybody's. When was the last time we streamed? Like 5 days ago? Has it been a week? I don't know. But anyway, hi. Thanks for joining in. If you're watching the recorded version, cool. Some of you guys have been leaving some messages on some of the previous streams asking about like, hey, when is this show and all that stuff. And that's on me. So I want to start saying the stuff in the beginning. The streams that I've been doing lately, and I'll probably be doing for a little while, they're just super casual. Whenever I feel like I'm ahead of schedule, I'll start streaming and start moving around that way. That way, I can still move forward with actual production on JESOP King. Really, I'm turning down like work that I get everywhere, and I'm just working on this when I can. And it's been actually really cool. And I'll share some of that stuff with you guys as well. Some of the reasons why and all that cool stuff. And again, if you guys have any questions, by all means, please jam them in the chat. I'm here for a discussion with you guys, so thanks for hanging out with me. And if you're new and if you like the video, please consider subscribing, liking. Hell, even if you don't like doing any of that, just share if you find something interesting on here. And I know these streams, they tend to get like, pretty girthy. So I know that, and I realize that this isn't necessarily the content that people want to see, because it's just like maybe think of it like a podcast. I guess just have it on in the background. Forever ago, that sounds about right. All right, so game plan. What's going on? So we're gonna be coloring today. I don't know. We're gonna be streaming probably. I said like an hour and a half. Probably go to like 2 hours or so. I've got 4 pages left, and that's gonna get us to 16 pages so far, which is great. It's actually moving along very well. I inked the last 4 pages here in about 2 days, maybe. If I really buckled down, I probably could have done it in a day. Again, that's not to gloat. It's just look what you're looking at. Inking this is pretty much the line art, right? Like if I turn this, okay, I didn't do that. But the inking's super simple. There's nothing dramatic about what I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting with coloring. So once these 16 pages are done, I've already made the commitment and I've turned the switch in my head to go, okay, now we're going to switch what I'm doing and start focusing in on posting. Let's start sharing this with everybody. I'm glad you guys have been a part of this, walking around, watching and stuff. If you're on Patreon, you guys have already seen pretty much every page so far. So if you're interested in the comic, I know it's not out yet, but if you want to head to Patreon, I post the pages there as well. So what does that mean? It means that I'm going to start working on, like, if you go to jesopking.com right now, it's just functioning. And that was about a year and a half ago that I did that. So we're going to get the website going. I got to make a Facebook fan page. I've already got one going. You guys can follow if you want. I'll start rolling all this stuff out, but I just want you guys to know, because there's some of you, like I said, I want to do this more of a, not only just a hangout, but like a documentation. So if people wanted to come back, they could always rewatch this stuff. And, if you guys are working on your own comic, perhaps there's some little nuggets of gold. Nuggets of gold? What? Maybe there's some good stuff in here for you. So yeah, I've got 16 pages, and that's about, I'm looking at releasing 2 pages a week. So that's, 8 pages a month. So 16 pages gives us a 2 month buffer, which is great. I want a little bit more than that, but so far that's all good. So I'm going to be getting all the website stuff done, the Tapastic account, Webtoons. I think those are like the main things. And then once I see when that's done, we'll start looking at actually posting, getting this stuff finally going, which is going to be great and exciting and scary all at the same time. So that's probably, I'm aiming towards the end of this month to have all that wrapped up. And then like March 1st, I'm thinking so far. So far things seem to be okay. If I come into a snag or something, then that might change some of this up. So, cross counter, how's it going? Do you have a letterer that you're happy with? I'm lettering the whole book myself, so I don't really need a letterer. I've been in the comics world, whatever the hell that means. I've been around comics enough to know how lettering should be done. That's not to say what I'm doing is what a proper letterer would do. This whole project has just been about one. Always will be the first point, which is to build a bigger audience, get more people maybe interested in my stuff or hate it. That's fine too. And the second one is to learn. right? I've always, you guys have known, and I've said this, and we'll get to some drawing. I apologize. This is usually how this show goes. But I've said right from the get go, anybody that's been following my channel or me for any period of time outside of client work, it always looks like I start personal projects and then never builds. So. And not only that, but I even end every show with keep reading comics and keep making comics. I do that first part, but that second part I don't do as often as I should. Or at least what I want to be, like as I consider myself to be. I like to help people make comics. I enjoy it, but the problem was that I wasn't making really many comic pages unless it was for clients. And now that that's all done, at least for the foreseeable future anyway, we need to ramp it up. And I'll tell you right now, 16 pages might not seem like a lot, and to some of you it might seem like a lot. But I'll tell you this, between this, the amount of work I put into this isn't a lot of work, but the content that's come out of it is pretty much on par with any product that I've done with anybody else before, except the standard. The standard was about four and a half, I think, issues that I did there, except that was over a period of years, right? So, so far, it's going great. And, we keep, like I say, in a year, we'll look back and see what's going on. I'm committed to this thing for more than a year, but in the first year, that's when I'm just focusing about content, and that's it. And then after that, we can start figuring out, kind of where it's going and all that stuff. But yeah, thank you for the question there. Why do you ask? I should ask. Ben, I've been curious about this for a while. It's not art related, but why does it look like there's a sun coming through your window, or at least some sort of blue light? Oh, so this blue light here. Oh, I'm just looking at the video. This blue light's coming from my Cintiq. Unfortunately, it just blasted me with radiation goodness. Hey, Jojo. So I got my Cintiq here, which is and I mean, to be fair, the webcam that I use for you guys here, it's cheap. It's nothing amazing, so it's not picking up on a lot of. It's washing a lot of stuff together. I think a friend of mine, he had a webcam. I borrowed it for a little bit just to check it out, and it was like, okay, maybe down the road we'll look like upgrading it. But anyway, there's that. My monitor's here. It's kind of hitting me this way as well. Like you can see my face glows this way. When I go this way, you can't even see me because I'm off screen. But over here is obviously my window. It's nighttime right now, and it's just my porch light hitting in. It's like a big white light that just, it almost looks like a, I was gonna say a Walmart parking lot, but what does that even mean? John, do you keep a digital sketchbook? If so, how do you organize it? I do not. The only sketchbooks I don't even really sketchbook, you guys. It used to be something I was really into, and then I just fell off the wagon. I'm pretty much, I can just scribble ideas anywhere on paper. I don't need something, or I don't use something specific. However, just give me a second here. So, if you guys are familiar with Moleskine sketchbooks, hopefully this kind of comes through. Dollarama here in Canada, I don't know if they still have them, but they started getting these in, and they look just like Moleskine, except they're lined, right? But the thing is it has, even in the back, it's got like a little pocket. Let's see if I can watch the video here. Little pocket you can put stuff in, whatever. And it's got the bookmark and the strap, which is cool. And they were like $2, so I bought, I think, like 10 of these or something. And this is all I'll need for like the next 10 years, easy, no problem. Again, I don't sketchbook as much as I used to back in the day, where I was doing like maybe 2 sketchbooks a year, maybe 3. But most of them is filled with study. But I don't. As for the digital side, there was a couple times I did start, but I just stopped because I don't know. Whenever I'll be honest with you guys. Whenever I'm in like Manga Studio or Clip Studio and I'm here ready to draw, it's like okay, it's work. It's not the study stuff. That's just me. I know some people you'll just make like go file new, make like a story, and just load it with pages and then draw in there. That usually works pretty well for people too. I mean the square on the window. Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Cross contour. I asked because I'm at the Kubert School. Oh, awesome! Right. I always forget what you guys are all doing. And I'm working with a Marvel DC staff letterer. I can do digital and the hand-drawn special effects. Oh, awesome, man. That's awesome if you're doing it yourself. Well, if you want, by all means, shoot me a message. Head over to my site, shoot me a message, and I'll talk to you for sure. I met a few people actually ask me about flatting and stuff, and the project's still too early for me to say yes or no to things, but I will be honest, like I'm not making money on this stuff here, and I don't make a lot of money in real life, right? So hiring people is one thing. People that want to help, that's obviously great. And if I can start to, I don't want to say I want to make a team, but like people that would love to help, and if I can pay to help some people, like I would love to do that because that just means I can build up more content in the background, even though the release schedule still stays the same and all that. But I'm just super excited you guys are like into this stuff, man. So thank you guys so much for all that you do. So let's get this party started here. Let's get some coloring going. You guys excited? We're going to see some bad guys too. So I remember in the last stream there was some. I asked. There's like a spoiler that comes up here. One thing I'm trying to do is not have the text layer while I'm drawing. That way, for those of you that do want to watch it or read it when it comes out, there's some story going on. You know, it's not all just like revealed to you. Not that it really matters. Honestly, like I'm trying to keep. It's weird. I'm in this balance of like just show whatever because it doesn't matter. Right? If the idea is to build an audience, you guys are here hanging out. But some of you guys were saying you wanted some of this stuff to be like cliffhangers and all that. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that just yet. I'm just hoping that by the time you guys read it, that you've already forgotten some of the stuff that happens. But anyway, the next page after this, the story ramps up. You start to see the bad guys. So you're going to see them. I'll actually show you them right now. In case you guys didn't see when I posted this over the weekend. These are the Doblins, if you guys remember. We did a color check for these guys. But what happened was over the weekend, as I was doing the inking and the line art for this project, I didn't have a body for these guys. Or their costume. So these are the little guys here. These are going to be like the main bad guys, but they're also like the main. I like Metroid. Star Wars, I gave that example too. You got Stormtroopers, Metroid, you've got the Space Pirates. They look like little like insect kind of guys. Power Rangers, you got the Putty Patrol. Just goons, right, that populate the world. And I want that in mind as well. And this is the design I settled on so far for them. They'll range a bit, but these are kind of like the space pirates that are always out in, like, let's say the Outer Rim or something. They're always the guys that are causing shit. You know, they're out there they're not always the main bad guy of the story, but a lot of times, like I can just throw them in there as like the goons kind of stuff, right? So these guys here, they're going to come in together. You'll see them coming up. We're going to be coloring all those guys as well. And I also posted this as well. It's a height guide. And the reason I wanted this is I printed all this stuff out and I have it taped right now in front of me. So I can always look up and look at the reference and all that. But the reason I wanted this was for a couple of reasons. One, I'm always fortunate and heavily thankful for all of your guys' fan art. And I'm assuming we'll get more going forward just based on what I've gotten already, which is mind-blowing and, it's crazy. So I wanted to have this for those of you out there that wanted to do fan art so that we can have you guys have an understanding of what the characters are and what they are in relation to things, okay? Also, for me, like I have it up there so I can look at like, okay, so the Doblins here, when he's attacking Jessup or Momo, how big are they, right? Because I don't know just yet because I haven't drawn them. And the last thing I want to do is get stuck on the page worrying about this when I could just take like 10 minutes, 20 minutes out and just do something like this, okay? So, these are feet. Humans, I put a human here so that we can relate to the size, right? So I put the average height here for a human, 6 foot, which is pretty big, right? So Jessup's 10 feet tall, just so you guys can get a massive size. Just think of the Hulk. If you guys want to draw him, just think of the Hulk. Momo, she's about the size of a human, but that's because of her tentacles, really, right? You can see the Tupos. I want them to be the smallest one because they're the cute little guys, and then the Doblins, they're around there. So you can kind of see where this is kind of going out. But I hope you guys dig this. I believe if I didn't post this, you guys let me know. I'll double check myself just to make sure you guys, for all of you that are interested in checking it out, you guys will be all set with that, okay? Hey, Troy, how's it going, man? You bought, as cross country saying, I bought 2 sketchbooks. Can't wait for a new one. You actually drew them both. Thanks for that. I drew them both. Oh, you bought 2 of the sketchbooks. Right. So, thanks. I'm all over the place. Appreciate it. You guys like the jaw? Cool. Ben, how far ahead have you planned for the stories? So what I've done is, here, I'll just show you guys something real quick. I don't want to show the full kind of thing, but I'll give you guys an idea. So I have a document that basically goes like this, and I've shown you guys this. You guys know how I like to write my stories, right? I'm not the best writer yet, but we're going to get better. Beginning, middle, and end. And that's how I do every single story. However, I have like that overall arc. Okay, so the beginning is what we're doing right now, which is story number 1, Diamonds and Doblins. So creative, I know. So that's the beginning. I know what the transition part of the overall story is, and I know what the very last scene is going to be. I already know where all this plays together, okay? So that's that. However, what I'm doing, and the next story is going to be this is what I call like I've told you guys the X-Files method of writing, or at least that's the way I like to call it. and I forget where I read it, but it's called like Monster of the Week. So imagine the X Files. Just one more time to give that example. So the beginning would be like of the season. So season one, let's say, is about aliens. So the end is the main characters find out if that aliens are real. Let's say, right. So beginning is the opposite of that, and then the middle is like, so what happens to get them to the end. Okay. However, where the Monster of the Week episodes come in is you just start sprinkling in like stuff like this, little plots, right? Like Frankenstein up here, ghosts, haunted, possession, shadow creatures, I don't know, whatever, right? And what these serve as is basically fun. You get to just sort of have a little bit of fun, but the idea of them mostly is just for character development and for people to get interested in the characters. It's just little excuses, right? And not every story is going to be like 40 pages, or I don't know how big the first story is going to be, but the other ones could be like 3 to 4 to 10 pages, anything like that, right? Of whatever I feel like telling. And the reason why I like this is because this right here is really all I need to tell. All this other stuff is as we're having fun, okay? And let's say the project starts to wind down and I'm burning out on it or whatever, I still have that goal of where we're going to hit eventually, right? So as long as I always have that, I feel like I'm okay. I don't have to worry about like, does it matter and all that stuff, because I'm not expecting great things. But this is pretty much the outline that I have for it. So I have where I'm going already, and all this other stuff, they're just ideas that come to me. And there's some pressure, like, it's got to be good, right? It can't just be Jessup punching an alien every time, like that kind of stuff. So we'll see how it goes. It's all one big learning experience for sure. So you've broken out each mini story into smaller 3 note cards that eventually build up to a final card. So you've broken each, just in case I wasn't clear. Okay, so the overall story is 3 note cards, right? What we're starting with, Diamonds and Doblins, this will get us into the world. This is the introduction to it. The middle is the transition that happens to the very last point. So the middle, when we get there, I'm thinking that's when the story takes its serious turn, and you guys will see that as we get in there. But each other story, think of them like issues, I guess, okay? So there's 3 issues or stories that are the main plot. Then there's going to be issues in between or stories that are just whatever I want to do. Right? Like I said, I want to have one that's based on like Magic the Gathering or some sort of card game or something. I don't know if whatever. That I have that idea of Jessup fighting a giant earth-eating worm. These kinds of things that are just fun stuff, and video game stuff. Anything that pops up, and you just put the characters in there and see kind of what happens. I hope that makes sense. I know we're all over the place. I'm all over the place. I don't know about you guys. All right, so let's set our stopwatch here. And we can get into coloring, I believe. Let me just make sure. Colors. Yep. Okay, so let's open up our previous page, which I think is what, 12? Gotta make sure text is off. Turn that layer off. Okay, so we need to get a color of the ink. Let's do that. Okay, we got that. Got that. And the color. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. Yep, Troy's got it. Yep, the setup, the climax, and the conclusion. Yep. Even though the problem might be because they're going to be so far apart that I'm going to have to add little note cards in between that are still plot driven. It could be as easy as that, but I'm adding a little extra. I'm being vague, but I'm trying to give you the details as well. Okay, cool, Ben. Yeah, I hope it helps you out, man. So this first panel, I'm wondering if I just leave a white background. I'm not too sure just yet, but let's get Momo rocking out here. Let's grab our wand tool, and we're just gonna make all little selections here. Yeah, maybe we'll need a background. I'm not sure. Troy, yeah, for my book series, I have planned 100 issues, roughly, which I know the whole story just in the middle is the fun time. Yeah, and I will say too, because there are some people I know like what I'm doing here. A lot of people are going to try doing as well, which is great. If it helps you do your thing, do it. Um, I just want to underline just to make sure because I don't want to not oversell it, but I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear for you guys. Is that there is definitely something to be said, and I've fallen into this boat so far. I'm not there anymore since we're already moving so far with the project, but is getting stuck not necessarily in the world building stage, but of writing like an epic. Let's say, okay, so I would err on the side of just writing, like, don't go too far into the future. I'm not criticizing Troy for just doing 100 issues or whatever. If that's what you want to do, man, do it. I just want to talk to like everybody in just a generality, because sometimes that stuff can get crippling. Just the amount of work you're planning on doing. So getting started off the right foot can sometimes, or a lot of times, just feel like even a bigger problem. And then what ends up happening, if you're like me, you just don't do it. A new idea comes along that seems simpler and more down to earth, more, something you can actually do. The first one was a little too ambitious. And then the same thing will happen with that kind of stuff as well. So just try to be a little realistic and something that'll get you moving, get you started. And if the story you have in your mind that's like 100 pages, or I'm just using your example there, Troy, is like 100 pages or whatever, maybe consider doing like a different story to start with. In saying that, if you're doing like a web comic, like I plan on doing, the scary part with that is like, well, web comics take a very long time to build an audience at all, right? If one even shows up. So if you're just gonna do a short story, is it like a waste of time? Um, and then to that, I would probably say, um, no, maybe the 100 issues thing is a little bit more appropriate for that. Just know that you might not ever hit the end, and as long as you're cool with that, and it's not preventing you from starting, then I think it's probably a good idea there. Okay, cool. All right. So we're doing the absolutely most fun part of the entire process. Flats. Last time I flatted all the pages before we went to color. I think I'm going to try that again. Seemed to go pretty quick last time. Okay, what's green on her? I can't remember. Her eyes, right? It's been a while. Okay. So what I'm going to do as well is I'm just going to make another layer in case we do a background. I'm not too sure if we will just yet, but just in case we do. I'll actually fill the whole thing here. I'll just delete all this. Oh, there's an auto flatter in Manga Studio. Doesn't do the cleanest flats, but it's still pretty neat for some stuff. Is it just like a button you press or something to do that, or is it a different thing? I just also posted a video for you guys as well. If you go up to File, go down to Start Clip Studio. I'm not going to get into the whole tutorial with you guys here. There's a video I have on it. It just loads up this piece of software within the software called Clip Studio, and there's like a whole bunch of free assets you can download, like brushes, like manga brushes, anything, man, like actions, all this stuff, 3D models, all these cool things. And you can just go in there and you can click stuff. Like I want that brush. Let's say you click in here. It'll show you some of the patterns that come with it, whatever. Click View Translation, it'll sort of change some of the letters, won't do it all. But you can get some cool little effects and that stuff. You just click Download, like right here, and then it downloads it to Manga Studio, and you can just sort of play with that stuff. So why I even brought that up was there's so many things that I keep finding, and I said in that video as well, but there's so many things that I think are just super buried in Manga Studio here. But those things that are buried, there's like so many really cool things. Like a lot of cool stuff. Oh, I forgot. I do this every time. I always I always end up just coloring the file instead of changing the resolution of it. So I notice like things are taking a little while. I'm not coloring it 600 DPI. It's crazy. Let's bring it down. Have you ever goofed around with screen tones? A little bit, yep. You guys actually go back. We did a couple of them. They're probably in stream, so you guys wouldn't have seen them for sure. But yeah, definitely messed around a little bit with the screen tones. There was a time here with JESOP King here. I was wondering if I was just going to do black and white and with gray, but I didn't want to do just gray, right? So I was looking around and I'm like, well, maybe there's maybe I could just do screen tones. And I was messing around with them a little bit, but the reality is, at least the reality was for me, that it's if I wanted to do them, they have to be done right, and I don't know how to do them right, so I have to learn how to do them. And it was kind of going against like I'm trying to speed things up, you know. So that's a long-winded way of saying how far I got with that stuff. You still do the old flatting in Photoshop with the pencil and lasso tool? Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would recommend, and I'm sure this probably has something to do with the Kubert School stuff for you. However, I would recommend just dabbling around with Manga Studio if you have it. It's not really that expensive. If you don't have the money, I get it. I'm not, you know, gonna jump all over you for that. But the flatting and everything in there. I know there's some people that just, I don't know, whatever reason, just refuse to learn. Maybe just because it's new software. I understand that. But I'm telling you, there's certain tools in here that just make it so much easier to flat. Like right now, I'm doing what you would normally do with a pencil anyway. Some things I find it's just simple to do it in there. And I mean, I'm not going for like crisp lines for selections because I have yet to find a reason to ever go like super perfect with flats. As long as it's not to the point where it's like so disgustingly noticeable. I don't know. I've never found a point to. That's just me though. Right? So I can just like grab my paintbrush and fill that stuff in. Just like you can with Photoshop, but I don't know. To each their own, I guess. I'm doing another green guy over here. Like the way I look at it, flats, they're time consuming for a reason, right? Like they do so much heavy lifting down the road for you. Um, and I suppose the style that you're coloring in too probably plays a huge factor into why you would choose draw it in a different way. There, I always forget we're there. But since I'm just coloring this stuff in a very simple manner, I don't ever really need to do holds and stuff like that. But whatever keeps you moving, just do that. Yeah, and the thing is too, right? If you're the only person doing your project, and this isn't in a way to like making me sound like poor me. That's why I do it this way. But exactly, like if you're the only person doing, actually, okay, I had a really good email that I got one last night, and I get it. I get the same email over and over again, time and time again, which is fine. It's people always asking like how we'll say like professionals they do like 22 pages, 24 pages a month. Like I can't even get close to that. Like what the hell am I doing wrong? And something that people don't take into account is that some people like comics they do that all day. Like that is their job. They don't have a job. They might have families and stuff, but they don't go to work, right? Like they work at home or their studio to draw all day. So that plays a heavy role. So when you're comparing your art to people you like, let's say again we'll use Jim Lee as an example because he's a great artist. Let's say you look at Jim Lee and you want to do your own comic, you want to make your own graphic novel, and you love Jim Lee and you're studying to draw like him and all that cool stuff. But when you get down to drawing, it's taking you like so long to do a single page. You need to remember that a lot of the people you're looking up to that is their full-time gig, that they only have to do one part of the entire process for the most part. Like I mean if you're looking at like a freelance artist, maybe that's doing like maybe like what I'm doing or some other artist that's kind of doing this kind of thing. If that's you, then you have to cut corners where you can. There's or just know that if you're going to stick with doing a long form comic, and it's not your full time gig, then it's going to take some serious commitment and time on your part. And as long as you're okay with that, then there's nothing to be like bummed out about, right? So again, the only reason I even brought that up is adding color to a project is crazy. It's absolutely crazy, especially if it's a comic book project. And that's not to glorify what I'm doing at all. It's just real talk. This whole stage adds like a frig ton amount of work. Okay, knowing that, I had to make the decision of okay, well, what's the style that I'm going to color it in? Because I couldn't color this myself anyway. I'm not that skilled. I couldn't color this in the way that I'd imagine like a full blown, like I don't know if you guys have seen some of the stuff I've done. Not that it's amazing stuff, not at all. But like a highlight layer, and some of you guys have asked about that, like a highlight layer, bounce light, airbrushing, kind of like the cut and grad look. I do a lot of that stuff at work and things, but if I want this to come out 2 pages a week, let's say for now, without being super like burnt out all the time of working on it, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. And again, the last reason why I'm bringing that up is I just want you guys to know that in case you're kind of on the boat that I got like from the email from the gentleman yesterday that was asking about that. He was kind of getting himself, he's kind of beating himself up a bit, specifically just because of like what I said, where it's like I think there's a part that a lot of people forget about when they're comparing themselves to like what other artists can do, and it might start like breaking your will a bit, like you might start going like, I'll never be as good as so and so because they're doing this or that, or they look that good and look at my art. And if you're writing and doing the whole thing, it's a lot of work. So just give yourself a little bit of slack, and if not that, at least give yourself a little bit of like, just know what you're getting into. Just don't just destroy yourself here. Is it really just 20 pages a month? That's it? Okay, I shouldn't say that's it. It's still a lot of work, obviously. But yeah, it used to be a lot more. Yeah, right? It used to be like 24 at one point, did it not? But yeah, like you're saying, exactly. Imagine you only had to do 20 pages a month. That might sound like a lot to a lot of you, and I understand that, but the more you draw, the more comfortable you get and all that cool stuff, right? So imagine you had to do 20 pages a month, and all you had to do was like pencils. Your pencils are probably pretty sick, because that's all you got to do today is pencils. You're not, you're not like thumbnail, or no, you'd be thumbnail, but you're not inking and stuff over top. If you're inking, that might be a little different. Okay, let's get these little dudes. I'm gonna miss not seeing these guys for a little bit. They do pop up pretty soon. Uh, After the next pages. The next page here is Momo getting her butt kicked. And then we get back to Jessup, and he gets a little surprise attack as well. Um, so a lot of the characters, they just start getting, you know how it goes. The heroes have to get defeated for a little bit until they can kind of fight back, right? You also, sorry, this is why I'm getting myself a Cintiq to make shortcuts for my art that I do currently. Yeah, a lot of people, they go digital for the shortcuts. Then there's lots of artists that don't, you know. I always like to think of Greg Capullo. I don't follow him too much, but inkers are amazing nowadays, man. So, like, I saw, and this isn't to slight Greg Capullo at all. The guy is, a god for comics. But him and even John Romita Jr. I love John Romita Jr.'s work, but I've seen their pencils that they send inkers, and you're like, jeez, like those inkers are doing a lot of heavy lifting. And I don't mean that in a callous way or something to make me feel better about how I draw or something. I'm just looking at them like, man, like they're not the crispest, tightest pencils, right? And when I started to see that, I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying that the job's easy at all. I'm just saying that I can understand how some of these cats are cranking out these pages, because in my mind, I always assumed, anyway, that if you were the penciler, you were doing like crisp pencil work. And some pencilers for sure do. But really, I even wonder, like, you don't even need to, right? If you got like an amazing team on your back, like you do some pencils and you really let that inker do his work or her work, like it's gonna be an awesome turnaround. Okay. Get this color here. Got everything. Yeah, the next page here with Momo getting attacked. It's like the first actual legit action scene. I may have went overkill with the speed lines, so we'll see. I haven't seen it in a couple days. I might have to pull it back a little bit. Just want to make sure it's super clear. Hey, Devon, how's it going? No, I have Troy. That's one of the examples I saw, and it's exactly that. You're like, holy hell. But to be fair, and this is the thing. Okay, maybe another little. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but there are those obviously that don't, and that's cool, right? But that's the thing. You cannot compare if you're making an entire book, okay, and you want to do that, and that's fine. More power to you. Just don't get you can't get locked in the mindset of what monthly books are doing because I would say what 95% of the time it's a team, right? You've got somebody, not one person is doing all of it, and because of that, you're going to be able to cut corners in places, right? Like so, Jim Lee, whatever. We all have seen like his pencils and all that stuff. Great artist, blah blah blah. However, he clearly has a lot of faith in his inking team and the people he's worked with for so long, developing relationships, work habits. It's like going to work, right? There's certain people you love to work with, and there's certain people that when you work with them, maybe you don't get more work done, but it feels like it's a more enjoyable experience, right? So you just figure people out. So in these cases, these guys and these girls that are like drawn professionally over many, many years, like you start to want to work with certain people, right? And once you see, like, let's say you're a penciler and you get tagged up with an inker that's just like, you send them like tight pencils and they just destroy, like, I mean, destroy it in a good way. Like, you're just like, holy hell, like, you made that awesome. And you talk to them for a little bit and, they start to tell you, and you tell them, like, I want you to play more with my work, man, because, like, you're making it all look better. Because at the end of the day, it's not And this is something that took me a long time to realize, and some of you might not agree with it, and that's cool too. But for a long time, I used to just think, and you guys have heard me talk about it, that a comic book is really the artist's domain, right? So like the MVP of the comic book is the artist. Now you guys can disagree with me as artists or whatever, but my mindset has changed radically. I don't believe that anymore. I believe personally that if you're on a comic book with other people, it's all of you combined are making a book. So that book should be judged on everything. The letterer could totally botch up beautiful artwork if they don't know what the hell they're doing. A penciler could botch up the lettering if they clutter panels too much, and then it just looks busy and it's disgusting. The colorist, like God, the colorist, they use a different color than you probably thought in your head, and now you're like, well, this is supposed to be a sad scene, and they changed it into a high action scene with bright reds in the background. You know, like things like that. And it's once I wrap my mind around that, it made working on comics with other people. I don't do it anymore, but when I was working with on comics with other people, it just made the whole process easier. It wasn't like I didn't feel like it was me in charge of everything. Meaning, like, well, I don't like it this way, so I want them to change it. You know, it's sort of like that poutiness I've talked about before. But if you're working with a team, it's a team, man. Like, help everybody out. Don't just be like I was. Don't be like I was and go like, well, not that I'm like, well, I'm the artist and you have to do this way, but it's like, well, I'm sorry, but we need somebody else on the team because this person doesn't highlight my art. It's like, well, that's a pretty shitty way. That's a shitty person to be. Don't be shit. Don't be shit. That's the moral of the story today, guys. Don't be a shitty coworker. And if you're doing this all on yourself, then you can be the worst person you've ever worked with. Hey, Pillowhead, how's it going? Power Cord, this guy. Hey, how's it going, my man? How's your guys' are you guys still doing let's plays and stuff? How's that all going? 4 books a month? That's crazy. Davon just bought a copy of Clip Studio Paint. Well, enjoy that, man. Have fun. Okay, panel tray. Actually, hold on. Hold on. Let's get this background here first. Panel. Copy those. And we will pasty. Alright, we can kind of move this blue down wherever we want it. Okay, cool. We're gonna fix all this stuff before we get to the shadows and all that jank. As we got Momo, Tupos, background. Yes. Momo, Tupo, PG. Legally, cool. That's good. That's good. Yeah, we slowed down everyday content, but we're crushing through the dark. Okay, yeah. How hard is it doing content every day? Eh? Question for you. Do you guys do this? This is directed to anybody in the chat, but specifically my buddy Alec there. I've found, anyway, and if you're doing this, then great, is batching work for like YouTube. So what I mean by that, in case you haven't done it, I'm sure you guys are, but in case, is like, so if you guys sit down and go like, okay, every Saturday we're just going to record for, I don't know, let's say 5 hours. And you break it up into like either half-hour videos or an hour video or whatever, and you just upload them all to YouTube, and then whenever you want, you just click it to publish, and then it becomes available. I don't know if you're doing that. In case you are, the reason why I bring that up, and this is for other people too, is because when I was first doing YouTube, after a little while, once it started picking up steam and I was having a lot of fun, I wanted to do that too because there's always that thing where it's like you need to stay relevant in people's news feeds. So you're doing like a video. I was doing a video like every other day or every day, but the problem was it's like every day you got to get set up and upload and all this crap. But I found anyway that if you just spend like a day doing, if you can do it in a day, just blast through content, make recordings, blah 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 blah, do all your voiceover, upload it all. There was I don't know how many, 2 or 3 years ago, I was doing this anyway. I would spend like a Saturday just recording me drawing stuff, and then the end of Saturday, early Sunday, I would be uploading it all, and that would give me a month of videos, a month for one day. That makes, and a lot of people do that. In case you guys don't know that, but it's like it's such an easy way to stay on top of it, because if somebody gets sick or you guys start getting, or people just get like, I'm burnt out or I don't know what to do, it's very hard to get back on that horse, and then no updates are coming out, right? And it gets super scary after that. Yeah, Neo looks really awesome. uh Well, Ben, honestly, people that do like daily videos, you'd be surprised. A lot of people, they batch it. They batch like, because you don't know what's happening in their life, and you're not lying, right? You're still making videos, but like you could do days in advance. I know it's weird. It's weird with this stuff. Like you could do. I think Kevin Cross did something recently, and I don't know if it was 100% true or not, but he brought it up somewhere. But he was doing 100 days of making comics, and there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not calling him out or anything. But what he was doing was, it was like he would batch like groups of days together. But they were already done. So when you guys got to see them online, I mean, those were probably weeks ago. You know that they already happened. You don't know the context. Like you're still doing it, but just because it's literally not today, uh, like some people, they just don't do that because again, it doesn't seem like it's real. Like it's not what happened 100% today. Is that connected over there? Let me just zoom in. Can't see. And you, Dave. Well, honestly, that was the big problem. We ended up with 370 videos, and it was 1 hour segments whenever we had a chance, broken down into 4 videos. Okay. Oh, so the problem was that you guys were just kind of getting together for like an hour a week or something, and then breaking it down into four. We had a day where we played Ocarina of Time for 3 hours straight. Awesome, and it created 13 episodes, and it was far more efficient. There you go, man. You just said the magic word, efficient. I love it. Yeah, like honestly, guys, I talk about it all the time with this comic stuff, and not everybody's gonna do it, and I get it, and that's fine. But the concept of batching, I really started to understand for freelance, and also like what we're doing online, like what this is, right? Like I started really understanding it after reading that Tim Ferriss book, The 4 Hour Work Week. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or whatever. Obviously, with a title like that, you have to read it. But it was just that concept of batching that he was talking about with work, and it was a mix with that and Getting Things Done by David Allen that I've showed you guys about. It's basically productivity, and a lot of people that are successful, which you would ever deem successful, whatever the hell that means, when you see them doing stuff, the perception is that like everything is that day at that moment they uploaded it or something, right? And the reality for them, for most people, is it's not that at all. It's the other way around. It's like what we're talking about right now. It's they, not that they, you know batched it. That just makes it sound even like stupid or something. But it's not that they batched it all together, but they just took the time and broke down the content they had to extend it out. Right. A great example. Anybody in the room that's doing web comics or it's done web comics, or maybe you guys have heard of it. Not heard of it, but if you guys understand web comics, right? Is that everybody almost always says, do not ever do a comic book or a web comic until you have a buffer. And the buffer isn't necessarily batching, but the buffer is the same concept. Is that the content's already done. Once you release stuff, people, it's not that you're tricking people, but people don't know that it's that you didn't just do those pages this week, right? And what that does is that lets you have something called life. right? If you want to play video games and stuff, but you still want to make a webcomic with some quality or quality art or whatever, like those are all real things. But at the same time, sometimes you get sick, and sometimes you don't want to do it. So like that's how that works, right? So it's in your best interest to always. I don't know. I've always found. Like, you know what? You guys aren't going to hear it. Here we go. It's like schoolwork. Ugh. Just use that gross word. It's like homework and tests. I'm sure everybody in here never did homework the day. Let's say you got homework for the weekend, and it's Friday night. How many of you actually ever at least tried? Maybe there's a lot of you in here. That'd be cool. Actually, try to get all your homework done on Friday, um, and then you just enjoyed the rest of the weekend. I will tell you this. I remember doing it twice. I was a horrible student, but I remember doing it twice. And the thing that was cool, and I definitely remember this. I was just a stupid kid, and I just wanted to play like Final Fantasy and shit. So I didn't always do this, but I remember the times that I did. It was like I got home from school. I still remembered the class. I still remember. I got home, I ate, and I went boom right into the homework, and it only lasted like a fraction of the time because I still remembered it. And then the whole weekend was just like jerk off fest. Just go home and do your own thing. And then the other days where I would wait till Sunday or like Monday morning. Let's be honest. That stuff was absolutely crazy, man. That was pulling teeth. Oh my god. I definitely didn't want to do it then. It's like, oh, it's the last day of the weekend, man. Like, then I gotta go to school. It's like school's already taken away the rest of my my fun, How the hell did we start talking? I apologize, guys. Didn't mean to get talking about school. Anyway, getting sick is the worst. Yep. And on the previous panel, shouldn't the BG be the cliff? Yes, this panel should. You're definitely right. This panel should have a background in there. Let me just flash. All right. So there's a lot of text going on. This background, I'm thinking of changing the color. However, I might just take one of the backgrounds I've already done and just slap it in there. This was actually a test background, and I'm glad you brought it up. This was a test because I've seen a lot of artists do this. I haven't messed around with it too much, but I can imagine doing this. I've already drawn enough backgrounds that I could take a panel of background and plop it in here, recolor it, and it should look different. People won't go back and like, hey, they just copied and pasted a panel, because that generally doesn't feel good. But I wanted to test that to see if it would work. So I left it empty. So we'll see how that works. How do you think sessions of your favorite shows are made? Batched or buffered for simplicity? The bigger the team, the harder it is. I think what you just said there was the answer to your own question. The bigger the team, the harder it is. The bigger the team, I think would require more, not infrastructure, but if the team starts getting big, then there's a lot more time commitments, right? So that means whenever you guys can get together or whatever, the organization has to be so on point that you can't slack. When it's a small team, I would imagine you can square away like, okay, so if it's just, let's say it's me and you, right? We can go, okay, what day of the week can we hang out? And then you can plan and do that, right? Whereas if it's me and 20 people, it's like, okay, well, here is the date. You all have to show up for that date. Now you're taking time from people, so there has to be a reward and a commitment thing going on there, right? It's like going to work. I'm giving you money so that you'll give me your time, right? And then on the other side is if everybody's doing it for free because it's fun, well, then that gets super dangerous because then there's like, it's rare. It's rare, and I've done this with comic projects, but it's highly rare that everybody's just so pumped about doing it that they're just, they're all on the same page. Everybody's firing on the same cylinders, right? That's rarely the case. Usually the person, like, let's say it's your idea that you're coming up with, and like, cool, and everybody's like, yeah, man, I just want to do some game stuff, sweet. And then once it gets time to like make it, well, I've got stuff I got to do, like things that I actually want to do, like go see a hockey game or I don't know, go hang out with my girlfriend or my friends or something, like something that a commitment that's not there. Whereas if you told them you're paying them, I would assume then more, if not all, would show up, right? But then it turns into something else. Then it's turning into like, okay, well, this is an actual job now in a way, right? FF6 and chill. A TV show has 8 days to film and 24 days to finish an episode. I don't know if that's true. It sounds right. Well, hell, okay, let's look at like Marvel DC, guys. What is it? What is it? Let's say I did my 22 pages this month. What is it, like 4 to 6 months? Is that right? So 4 to 6 months till it sees print. That's pretty crazy. If I remember, if I heard correctly, I could be 100% wrong on that, but it sounds right. Nobody, well, not nobody, but let's just put it this way: smart people, and this isn't calling you stupid if you don't, but like more people than not do this, right? Or it's you make content and you hold it, and you schedule a release schedule for that, and you just stick to that. You don't go like it's tough, man. I can't. I'm not looking forward to it. Going like I want you guys to see this stuff. I can't wait. Like it's like sharing anything on Facebook and stuff. As soon as it's done, you just want the world to see it. You're like, look at me, look at my cool stuff. Come watch my cool stuff. It's like you just made a drawing and you're trying to show your mom or your dad, or like, yo, look what I just made. And you have to kind of pull it back and just think of it like realistically. Because most people don't want to see your stuff, right? Most people don't care what you're doing, sadly. So the last thing you want to do, actually just think of it like it's you, right? Like think about how you guys consume content. The last thing you guys want to do for anybody, let's say especially here on YouTube, because we're on YouTube right now, the last thing you would want to do is subscribe to a channel that's saying they want to do daily updates. Daily is like an extreme commitment, but let's just say it's daily updates. And you subscribe to them, and then they start making videos saying like, oh, sorry, like we wanted to do this, but life and stuff like that, right? It's super hard to keep people coming back when they don't know what the update is, like when it's going to be. So to play it safe, I guess the safe word, the safe word here is just to kind of just be real with yourself. I'm not talking to just you, Alec. I'm talking to anybody in general. But if you guys don't have the time or whatever to do it, then like just slow it down. Slow it down. Because if you look back in like a year anyway, right? Like you'll still notice that updates were being made and stuff. Progress was being made, which is really all you can hope to do. Anyway, enough of that. Fuck, it's hot in here. Color all these little dudes. Okay, purple. Oh man. Okay, how we can do this? I could probably just click that. Now this last panel, we've been doing a lot of silhouette panels, and I think there's even one more coming up soon. Usually I don't know, we change some stuff. I don't mind this one because it's very isolated and it's just like a stark black and white look to it. Maybe we'll keep it like this. Right, let's save this up. We're gonna get that background in there, and then we'll move on to the next page here. Jar, do you work at a studio during the day, or do you do all freelance gigs? I've only ever been a freelance artist once in my life, and I blew it. I got sucked into the lifestyle that young people dream of. I got to work on the Standard at the time. I moved it. Okay, I'll just answer your question now, and then we'll get into story time. I gotta get better at rambling with you guys. I work at a game studio called iDream Interactive. We make video games for Facebook and mobile. I'm getting more into mobile coming up. It's mostly like match 3 games. You can go check it on Facebook. I don't know how many of you guys play match 3s. Anyway, so I worked there, and then I used to do freelance work when I'd come home to do, like, it would be anything from covers to comic book projects. Some of the funnest stuff I did was for Kyle Simmons. Mutants and Masterminds is the big one that comes to mind. It's like an RP. It was like Dungeons and Dragons but superheroes. So I was commissioned to do all the artwork inside, and I still have. Maybe I'll show it to you guys one day. How it turned out. I don't think I did, but that was an awesome project. But that stuff. As of late, I've tried to just say no to everything. I have a job. So the scary part is saying no to money from people, right? Obviously, money's great. Money helps. And the main reason for that is because I want to at least spend a year of my life. I don't know how long we got, right? I want to spend at least a year of my life saying that I at least spent a year of my life working on a project of my own. Just to see what happens, right? Who knows what this does in the future? Might not do anything, right? My aspirations for it aren't anywhere, but it's sort of like I'm taking a year off from everybody and just doing myself. That sounds crazy. That sounds mad. Anyway, you guys know what I'm saying. So that's what I'm doing there. Just to go into like a really super quick, I guess, way. Let me pause the time here because I don't want to spilling over anything else here. But anyway, how I screwed up my freelance that I did have is when I moved to Toronto. This is probably going back almost 10 years now, maybe like 8. I moved to Toronto and I had a job at EB Games. I live in Windsor now. I worked at EB Games. I went to move to Toronto or outside of Toronto, and I asked if I could be transferred, and they just happened to have an opening, which was great. So I went there, so I had a job, and I already knew the job or whatever. It was just learning the people and all that crap. So I was there doing that. That was great. But what ended up happening was there was this really weird point. A lot of things started happening. One, my car just stopped working. Okay, so now I didn't have transportation, and I was starting to look at, well, how much does it cost to repair, to get a new car, all these things, and I just started getting, I think I was like maybe like 6 pages into the Standard. And if you don't know what the Standard is, I was we'll say commissioned, I guess, to do a trade paperback, which would be 6 issues, and I think I was getting paid. I could go back and look. It was anywhere between 50 and like, I want to say it was about $50 a page to pencil it. But we didn't have an inker, so I had to ink it, and I would just darken my pencils and clean it up, and it was fine. It didn't matter. People were enjoying it. So $50. Okay, let's do this here. Okay, just so you guys can kind of see where I was going with this. Okay, and it's funny it says Standard up there. That's relevant. So we'll say 50. And the beautiful part was I think these issues were 26 pages an issue. Okay. Plus a cover, and I think I was up. Let's just say I was 100 a cover. I don't know, right? So I was looking at $1,400 a month. Okay, now that might sound like nobody can live off that. Okay, but I wasn't living. I was splitting all the cost with a girlfriend at the time. So that meant I only had to pay half rent, which was I think it was like $400 a month. Right? So we'll go minus 400. I didn't have a car payment, and this is what I was thinking of because I wouldn't have a car. I'd have no car payment, no gas, no insurance. I would need to eat. And I didn't even have a cell phone at the time, right? So like my only, and I'm very fortunate in this case because I don't have any debt. Okay, so that would have changed this whole thing. But I don't have any debt, so I don't have any money coming out. So I was netting. Let's just say it was crazy, and I was eating a lot that month. Remember, this is a split in half, 200, right? So I was getting around like let's say 800 a month. just pure cash, right? So the way I was looking at it was this 800 would still carry over every month, and I could pay for my insurance, and this would last 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. But if I busted my ass to do a page a day, like we were kind of talking about, uh, I could do this, and this could be a launching pad to freelance because now I'd be cranking out so much work that I could just be sharing it with people and trying to get like commission work and all that stuff like that, right? Like on the side, and I started doing like in the morning, I'd wake up, do like an hour sketch, and I'd sell that stuff on eBay for like let's say 20 to $50. It adds up over a month, right? Like anything helps in this case. The scary part was what happens if this blows up. The real part of it was just like, well, what happens if blah blah blah. Now, just to be safe, I did have money in the bank before I did this, and I think I probably had like around 2 grand, 2 or 3 grand. So there was some float in there, right? Anyway, so as bad habits kick in, I'd had to be militant because if I slacked at all, this started to crumble, and that's exactly what happened. I started playing like video games. I started to sleep in. I started to like my back was getting messed up. I couldn't even walk around the block without like sharp pain in my spine because I was sitting all the time. And then when I wasn't sitting, I was just sitting playing games, or like I was doing nothing, right? So I had to start going on walks just to get my health better, and it didn't get much better, but I was able to walk. It makes it sound like I was paralyzed. But it was just, you know what it was? It was the fact that it was like I literally didn't have really anything I had to do. The only commitments were me being disciplined to do the work. That was it. I was in charge of myself to do it. There was no grand aspirations of a massive bank account or anything. It was like, it was weird. I got lost in the reason why I even did it to start with. So inevitably, it just blew up. Everything just went to shit. Nothing good came of it. The whole thing, and that's 100% my fault. Now, going back to all this stuff, obviously I had to get a job, right? So ever since then, I've always had the job, like a day job or jobs, to get this money back, right? And then when I'd come home, I would do client work. And that'd be the loop. And my mindset was, well, okay, I've learned my lesson. I can start doing all this client work and send that to other people, and just keep that going to eventually I get the big break or whatever the hell that is, that can replace my day job. That never came. And there's many reasons why that never came. The big primary one was just because I never actually, like, honest to goodness, like, tried it 100%. I'm very fortunate, and that fortunate part is has caused laziness in other areas, which is that like people are not continually. I don't make it sound like they're knocking down my door, but when a job would end within like a week or so, I'd magically get another email from people saying like, "Hey, would you like some work?" And it was awesome, and I'm forever grateful for that thing. And obviously, the older I get, the more this nasty balding, the older I get, all that good stuff, you just learn your lessons in that. And that's why I'm trying to share it with you guys a bit, just so you guys can kind of, don't be like me in a lot of ways. And if you get opportunities, like, and the thing is, like, some of you guys will hear what I'm saying and you'll understand it, but it doesn't mean anything until you go through it, right? And that's just the reality of all that stuff. But anyway, so long story short, well, not really, I already told the story, but to end it, that's really just where it is now, and that's one of the main driving forces of why I've decided to just go, you know what, fuck it, just do my own stuff. Not because I'm some, crusader trying to prove everybody wrong. Nothing like that. It's nothing has really changed. I know the reasons why. It's me. It's always going to be me. It's not outside sources. And if I'm content, which I am, working at the job that I have right now, which is a great job, I love it. It's different, it's interesting. It's not necessarily comic book work, but it's fun. If I can come home and do the comic stuff, I don't like. I'm not the best writer and all that stuff. I've shared that with you guys, and I don't care. I don't like this whole thing's just a learning process. And if I'm just gonna take a year off, really, it's not really off, but you guys know what I'm saying. Just to change some habits, just to spice it up and see what happens from it. Anyway, thank you for the question. I hope that helped you out a little bit. As soon as you leave, okay. No, see you later, Davon. Enjoy Clip Studio too, buddy. Hey, Justin, how's it going, my man? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Power Cord is saying we used to work at Dollar Store, Dollarama, and I used to bike every day to work because of that. When I was in Toronto, my car was messed up. I couldn't have a car, right? So when I moved back to Toronto or to Windsor, my girlfriend and we split up and stuff. I don't believe in God, but God, I'm glad, right? Like things happen, everything happens for a reason. Not a superstitious guy at all, but life is what you make of it. And in order to, how they say, in order to appreciate the good, you got to go through the bad, right? So all that stuff's to say that when I came back, it was almost felt like a total restart, guys. I had no job, uh, no woman, no car, and I was very lucky and fortunate that my dad was able to let me live with them, and I was able to live with him and save up. And I got the house that I'm in now, which was my brother's. They moved, so a lot of things. I've been very fortunate in a lot of ways, and I don't. I took a lot for granted for the art side of it, but I in my heart, I'll always be grateful for family and people that are always there for you. I hope you guys do have some sort of support system like that. But yeah, so I would bike. I went back to the job that I initially left before I went to EB Games. I talked to my boss, and she happened to be there too. And I asked if I could have a job back, which was funny because a lot of it's like a circle. I left a lot of the stuff I did, and then I lost it all. Maybe that's a hard word, but I lost it all, and I came back and I started the exact same cycle again. So I was working there. I even got a job back at EB Games later too. It's really weird. But yeah, save up for a car and just almost like when you're in high school. You get a job, you get a car, so you got transportation to try to find a better job that pays more money. Go there and then start saving up for what it is you want to do. And I'm very grateful that my dad like instilled that on me, and it's something that like I'll forever be grateful for. Um, some life lessons there. Yes, I use the bike every day to work. Yeah. Also, John, have you done the DVI to HDMI config? No, I haven't. I haven't had. Not that I haven't had time. I'm just making stuff instead of noodling around with things. But one day I'll be able to get to that. Hey, David K, how's it going, man? Ben, wow, I'm in a similar situation right now. I saved up a bunch and ditched my job. Then last month my car broke down. I'm hoping to find a job I don't hate, but I might have to settle. Hey, man, I'm sorry you're in that situation too, but everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't let it beat you up too much if you can. It's easier said than done for sure, but I believe in you, my man. And that's something else I guess I could just at least my opinion on it is like day jobs. I know it's like not taboo, but a lot of people that I know of anyway, um, and that I've known for years. Like I'm talking 20 years ago, you know. Well, maybe no, yeah, 20 years ago. There's one friend that I know specifically as we grew up anyway went this way, but it was like part-time jobs. Let's say working at like a gas station or something like that. It's like severely frowned upon. Like it was almost like a weakness to concede that hey, I just want work, and I don't care if that means I'm at a gas station or something. And like I never understood it. Like it was such a weird thing to me. I get not wanting to work like if you're an artist, there's always that drive to like I just want to do some art. I understand that 100%. I think we fucked up. See, so this is one thing. I'm drawing backgrounds. Oh no, sorry, I'm in the wrong file. Um, but yeah, it's like I don't know. There's a lot of I don't know where I'm going with this. I just want to say that getting a job that's not art related sucks for sure. But it does offer a lot of freedom that I don't think enough people really think about or talk about, which is that if you're working like a 9 to 5 someplace, like usually that comes with some benefits. Right? I'm not gonna say that you have to do this, but sometimes you get like literal benefits, or sometimes it's a paycheck. You just show up. A lot of those jobs you can just turn your brain off and do and think about what you're gonna do when you get home. And it's a juggle, but I don't know. I think there is a lot of positive stuff that can come out of getting just a regular job while you're busy trying to like you know get the actual gig that you want to get. If that makes sense to you guys at all. Okay, I just need to see where this is. All right, so we're copying and pasting backgrounds now. That's where we've gone to. We're sinking to these lows. All right, let's also flip it so it looks less conspicuous. Now we'll go this way. All right, let's bring it up a bit. Kind of like that. like surrounds them a bit. Yeah, let's stretch it a bit. Okay, well, maybe we can. Yeah, let's do that. I like that. Okay, so get that. The huts, we're not gonna need that. Kill that. Alright, we're just gonna do some quick inking here. When you Hey VF, how's it going, man? Taunting pirate. I got one of them jobs. I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, acting for me is my second job, and comics is my first job. Right on. Power cord. It's a mental thing. Trying to follow dreams and do a 9 to 5. At least for me, I get too focused on what I want, and I forget what I have to do. Ah, it's a good thing, man. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. See, the sad part is a lot of people forget about their dreams while they're working the 9 to 5. So as long as you're still remembering, like, here's one thing. I don't know if it was my dad that told me this when I was growing up, or I don't know who the hell told me. Or maybe it's just all these self-help books I read. Oh, it makes me sound horrible. Don't ever forget the why you guys are doing stuff. It's helped me out of some stuff too, man. Like, most of us don't want to work for somebody else, or most of us you don't mind working for somebody else if it's something you want to do, right? And probably if you went to get a job, as everybody likes to call it a day job, it's probably something you don't want to do, right? And it's hard, but try to always remember why you had to get that job in the first place. Maybe it is just money. You just need money, right? So when the job sucks and you got to get up early or whatever, just remember you're just doing it for the money, and you need the money right now, and hopefully stuff will happen where that stuff will go away or whatever. And it might not, but the thing is, like, if you can remember the reason why you're doing it. There was a time I took a job washing dishes while I was in college, and I needed to pay for my tuition and all that stuff, so I had to find jobs while I was at school and all that crap. But the other reason, like the main why, I remember going there and I'm like, I don't want to wash. Who wants to wash dishes? I only like washing dishes at home, right? But because they're paying me more than your allowance as a kid or something stupid, whatever, right? It was a job, and I just remember the reason why. I just kept thinking in my head, I kept coming back to, I need this to get through school. If I don't do this, then I can't get through school. I dropped out regardless, not because of the job, but I dropped out. But that made it at least trick my brain, at least it felt trick my brain into at least showing up, and going through the grind. So I don't know if that'll help you guys at all, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and it sucks right now, but it will get better. It has to get better. If it doesn't get better, then like, this is the other thing too, right? Like if it doesn't get better, why do you guys even come in here and listen to me ramble like this? What am I talking about? Oh God. If it doesn't get better, then you're just going to get in a cycle, and that's not good, right? So just remember that the reason why you're in something, hopefully, is to break a current cycle you're in. Meaning, if you don't like the way your life is right now, so you have to go get a day job to work on your comics, you're in the day job because you probably need money, right? Which is going to help you long-term make more comics or something along those lines. If you have debt and you don't want debt, you have to deliver pizzas now on top of your day job. That's got to suck, but you know that it's not a permanent thing, because by adding that action to your life, it's an attempt to change how things are moving, right? And I don't know, it's just something maybe if you guys aren't thinking about that, it might help you out, because I get it. There's nothing worse than, what are we gonna call it? Working for the man. Okay. Is Momo ignoring the slaves? Yes, she is, actually. And I'm trying to keep the text off so you guys can read it. She feels bad about it, but at the same time, she doesn't want to get her hands wet. Her hands dirty. Why did I say wet? I'm still a grocery cashier and doing the arts. There's so many people that are that do art and that work like menial jobs. And the best part is, I don't know if you guys, maybe one day you guys will get asked this, and I hope you do, because it's a flattering thing, and sometimes it's not, but it's like, hey, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm going to use the cashier example for this. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm a cashier. Really? Your art's so good. Why aren't you doing something with art? That's a fun one. That's a fun one to talk about. It's like, well, see, people don't like paying artists what most of us think we should get paid. So, $20 commissions doesn't keep doesn't keep the bank account full. Makes it a little tough. Okay, so this is page 13. That took an hour. So let's put that in for now. Cool. $1. Why is from the start, dun, 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 know your heart. Okay, so we can close this guy and close that guy and close that guy. And let's open up our next file. So here we go. This is that action one I was telling you guys about, and you guys can't see it at all. Great. Lots of cool stuff. And let's turn the text off because... So here we go. Loads and loads of speed lines. I don't mind it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's one of the things that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to remember anyway. Here, I'll zoom in so you guys can see the pretty pictures. And I'll explain what's going on. But one of the things I'm trying to do with this stuff is, if it was my brother or I heard it from somebody saying, like, if everything's bright, then nothing's bright. If you're doing a fight scene, if everything's action and fighting, then nothing is fighting and action. Nothing is getting that build up. If you watch a horror movie, if the entire movie is scary, I mean, no breaks, they're just doing jump scares, loud, weird things the entire time, you get used to it and it's not scary anymore, right? But if you go through an entire movie where it's like you just build up, and then something like that sort of thing. Anyway, that's why I wanted to go crazy with the speed lines a little bit on this one, because you don't see it anywhere else, not like in this intense. So hopefully it pays off a little bit more. But anyway, so she's talking, whatever. And then this one we start to see the first bad guys of the story show up, and they're just kind of creeping up the mountains, and they jump down, and she spins around, and here we go. We got 3 of these dudes coming at her, and boom! I love this panel. She gets kneed in the face. Whew, brutal. I like the way this panel turned out too, man. It's a classic shot. You know, like a cool looking face in the foreground, some action happening here, right? And then you get this guy that's looking on, but I like the way his body turned out too. It feels like everything's still in motion, which is cool. Then here you get these 2 panels here, like generic panels you see where it's a big flash here, and then she gets punched in the face. So let's do some flats for this. Let's get our timer going. Pillowhead, page 15. This chapter is about, I don't know, so far it's about 45 pages, around there. Originally, the first story that I was going to put out, I was going to break this up because we were going to do the Webtoons model, right, where all this would be released at once. So I was going to stop at the 16 pages. But since I've moved away from that, it doesn't make sense to keep doing it with that. I love when people come in and ask, "Aren't you a professional and working with a company yet?" No, I'm a cashier. Yeah, that's a great feeling, isn't it? Oh well, I'm sure they mean well. Maybe they probably don't. Nah, they probably do. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt here. Okay, let's do this right this time. Let's go edit. Let's put it down at 300 DPI so we don't kill the computer. And I'll show you guys the other 2 pages too, because, why not? Let's do it. Let's get crazy. Let's fill it in with blue. Cool. Okay, so the other 2 pages. So she gets punched in the face, right? So it's going to hell. And then the next thing we do is... I'll leave that text, that's fine. So then we're back to Jessup here, and it's doing more... I'm trying to show like a scene change, and it's a lot of inner dialogue now. So now we get to hear Jessup actually talking, because the last 10 pages or so just pretty much been Momo. So we kind of go here. What I liked about this page too is we zoom on this weird dude, right? And he's kind of talking about he misses the small beautiful things kind of thing, right? And then the last panel here, we just look at him, and he's just watching this little thing, just to show how huge he is. And I thought it'd be kind of funny where you see like this big creature. It looks like it could be big, right? And then when you the next panel is just that. And Jessup, the whole point of this too is because I wanted to show him, obviously he's like the big teddy bear kind of character, just loving life, little creatures and stuff. It plays into the next part of the story, I hope. Let's turn the text off here. In this one, there's gonna be a lot of like fireworks and stuff. But anyway, so here in this panel, right, it's gonna be hard to see that little dude. But I told you guys about this before, where it's Jessup, and we pull out again. But I could just imagine if this was like animated, he'd kind of just be sitting there with his legs, like dangling in the air. Just give me a second here, you guys. I will be right back. Just gotta answer the phone. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. Phone calls, right? What are you gonna do? Okay, so let me just. I'm gonna get back to what I was saying there, but somebody said something about that. From Pillhead, there was, hey, idea for you. You don't have to do it, just suggestion, but for that $3 tier video, how about doing a video on panel work? Okay, so just a real quick interruption here. So for Patreon, what now that they've introduced polls, what I like to do is if you are a patron and at the $3 tier level, every month I release like a comic related, generally comic related tutorial video, text, whatever. But since they started doing polls, I just make a poll for everybody, and you guys can vote on the content you want. So if there's a topic you like, just leave a comment, and I'll add it to the next one. That way, it seems like everybody sort of gets a poll, like a it's kind of, you know what it is. It's a poll, so everybody kind of gets in on it as well. So I'm not sure. I think this month so far the winning one is perspective work in comics. So that one's gonna be. I gotta think a little bit about that one, but yeah. So that's that. But anyway, thanks for the idea. Oh, okay, you were okay. No, I didn't know that. Thank you, Bitey thing. Anyway, okay, so let me just go back to this so we can get back to the coloring. So, okay, so again in this page, so the idea that I had for Jessup is that he's just in his own little world, right? And I've tried to describe it as like, sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, I recommend doing it. It's an interesting thing, but you might be too cool for it. I don't know. But next time you're waiting for a bus, or if you're sitting outside, or actually spend 10 minutes and just, what's the word? It's not stargazing. It's damn it. What is it called? When you basically just stare off into whatever and you just try not to think of anything. Daydreaming. That's it. There's a lot of actual science for daydreaming and stuff. But anyway, so stare at like a leaf or or a bird and just watch it be it in its environment. For me anyway, I love doing that, and I wanted to put that into Jessup as a character. And there's a lot of cool traits in that, I think anyway. So that's what I wanted this to be. He's just there looking at this little thing, and then he'd have his like legs kind of going back, like I say like a little schoolgirl, kind of like reading a book or something, and her legs are kind of like going back and forth. Anyway, so the goblins are now on coming to him too. So anyway, so they're coming up there, and then we get the cool little look here, and he's got his little like device. Let me just zoom out a bit. His little device kind of about to probe. It's basically a taser. Okay, so it gets close to his body, and then in this panel here, again there'll be a lot of lightning and stuff like that, but just like like just he's getting just zapped, and then another silhouette panel. I'm noticing I'm doing a lot of these ones, especially not because I want to cut it from backgrounds, but it has a cool illustrated look to me, where it's just black and white. You can follow it; it's clear, and it almost when there's no detail in there, it just feels like a not maybe an emotion, but like you are stuck on a moment. Your eye really can't spend a lot of time somewhere and look at the detail, the cool artwork. It just sees what it is and it registers it almost like an icon, I think it's called, like the peace symbol. You can just look at it and you understand peace. So when you're doing like black and white like this, in my opinion anyway, you look at it and you're like, okay, I get what's going on if it's clear. But that's where this is going. This was going to be page 16. This is where it's all going to end for the first little story, and then we're going to go into the other ones. But we're going to keep it going from here on. The next 4 pages, I added 4 pages after this, which was actually really cool. The Doblins are going to take Jessup and they're going to try to put him in like a cage, but he's kind of like knocked out, and he weighs like a freaking like a ton, right? So it's gonna be pretty cool getting all that kind of stuff going. Bum, brum, 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 brum. Hey, Darren, how's it going? Okay, so let's get this rocking. So I'm just gonna start breaking up these panels here. So we got panel 1, panel 2. Alright, so we'll just fill in the backspace around. It'll be around there, I don't know yet. Don't know specifics. Okay, so I'll have that. Panel 4. Oh, don't worry about going off topic, man. If anybody wants to talk about anything, jam in the chat. Yeah, I am still going strong in Monster Hunter. I was actually telling a coworker today. We kind of tell each other what we're playing and stuff like that, and just talk about it because we don't. I'm imagining he's the same as me. Outside of work, you go home and he's got a family and stuff, so he's not talking about Nintendo DS games like on the level you talk to somebody else that plays them, right? So yeah, no, honestly, guys, if any of you guys got a Nintendo 3DS, I would highly recommend checking it out, or any other system. Monster Hunter, it's now like I'm playing Generations anyway. As for the other versions, I don't know, but it's like in my top 10 games of all time. It's that good, man. Like I don't know if it's just fitting a certain void that I feel like it's fitting a really sweet spot right now for me for a video game, but like it's awesome. It's an amazing game. I know it won't be for everybody, but it's cool. It's really cool. Holy hell! Just watched a video on YouTube called "Why Your Drawings Suck" by Istabrak. She goes in hard on artists who are full of excuses. You got a link you can post for everybody else to watch that? Love that stuff. All right, let's draw all the Momos. Hey, Jojo. Hi. Darren, I gotta prove my. As long as you're, what's that? There was a quote I shared the other day, and it's perfect, guys. Um, it's hard. Am I screwing it up? I'm screwing it up. It's impossible to get worse at something you do every day. Okay, so just to answer your question there, or your comment there, you wish you, what would you say? Sorry, you got to improve your art. Just relax. Just work every day the best you can, and it's impossible to get worse at it. Might seem like it at first, or you might be like, I've already been drawing for a year and my stuff still sucks. What am I doing wrong? It could take you 10 years. It could take you 5. It could take you 2. And everybody's different. But as long as you're doing something, it's impossible to get worse at it. It's impossible. So here's a little writing tip coming from a guy that has no writing credibility. just something I read. Yeah, I think what is the movie that this example was brought in? Um, Groundhog's Day. Basically, you show a character and you write them in a way that most people would probably think they're not a nice person or something, right? So in this case, Momo's been a brat the entire time. Right? I would put her up as a brat. She just saw a bunch of slaves, and you guys don't know the script of what she says, but essentially just said, like, sorry, you guys, like, good luck, wish you all the best, all that kind of stuff. But didn't do the heroic thing, which would be to figure some way to save them, right? So as a reader, hopefully, you might go like, okay, not that she's a piece of trash, but something isn't right here. That's not how a hero would act. So you might not look at her as a hero, or might just start going like, I don't like this character, right? And the next thing you do is you literally beat them up. And for some weird reason, people all of a sudden, they don't like bullies, right? And they don't like all the bad stuff. So they're like, whoa, well, she never beat anybody up. She was doing bad stuff, but she wasn't doing as bad stuff as that person just did to them. And generally, then you get the audience back, and they're like on your side. All of a sudden, they're rooting for like the anti-hero, you know. So that's what I'm trying to do here with this one. Like literally have her just beat up. Although, like from what you guys are saying, a lot of you guys really dig this character, which is cool. Some of you guys are saying you like her more than Jessup, which is awesome. I like that. That's good. That's good. Okay. Sorry, I hate to interrupt your comic stuff, so don't worry about it, man. How do you do Momo's tentacle leggies? There's two ways. One, I do them the long form way, I'll draw them. Or in an example like this where they look pretty uniform, I'll just grab a brush, draw them on a separate layer, and then run that path that turns it into line art. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, here I'll just do a quick one here. So let's just say this is a tentacle. I run my path, and it turns it into line art. Oops. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Let's see. Power Cord, do you have a regular stream schedule still? I miss regular Epijay. Well, thank you. I miss you too, man. We still gotta hang out. I'm gonna call you out on that. Maybe we'll go get coffee sometime or something. I need to stare into those eyes again. Anyway, no, I used to do the Wednesday show, which you probably remember. I stopped doing that because it was becoming one of those things where life would revolve around the stream, meaning every Wednesday was off limits unless something crazy happened, which is great for a lot of things. But the stream was mostly just not me having fun. It's always been about obviously helping people. I always want to help people. However, the projects I was doing, it was just getting crazy. Like it was so tough to just figure out how I could manage doing client work as well as getting streams done. Because like a lot of the streams, you guys come in and you guys talk and ask questions, which is awesome. That's half of the reason why I do this. The hard part was like if I've got deadlines, well, an hour is precious if you're struggling to even find the energy to draw. So just to answer your question, no, I stopped doing them. Now, I just do what you see right now, which is if I feel like I've got the time to do it, then I'll do it. The positive side from that is for me, it's great. The negative side is for you guys, it's not so great. Right? Because I know there's lots of people on YouTube or other places. It's like anything, man. You got a favorite TV show? Not that this is your favorite show, but if you've got things you look forward to, or like me, man, like every Sunday, Excellent Adventures with Gutex and Mike Ross comes out. It's a Street Fighter based show on YouTube, right? Like I get my breakfast ready. I'm eating it while I'm watching it. It's awesome. I look forward to it. I don't get that. That's the part I miss out on because I'm not streaming like that anymore. And that's a huge thing. That's a huge like. If I had to recommend, I would say pick at least one day a week and just stick with that myself. But I understand if you can't. I'd say as long as you're making content, period, it's great. But, and I mean, I've only got what 14,000 subscribers, and that's not saying like I've only got, but I've been doing this for how long now? Like 6 or 7 years. I should have a way more. And the reason is because the content's unfocused. It's very sporadic. And it's not... like people that first started coming to this channel, it was probably like just for tutorials and stuff, which is cool. Or Manga Studio. They thought maybe I just did a lot of like, here's how to learn Manga Studio and stuff, right? And it was never any of those things. I just want to share stuff that I'm finding out, right? But then you start getting like streams like this that are like 2 to 6 hours. People aren't watching that. They come in, they want to see like a 5-minute, if that, like a 2-minute draw like a figure or draw Wolverine. That's what people like to see. Or I could title something "How to Draw Wolverine," and it's going to probably be, it'll have a lot more views than what I normally do, and then that makes sense because it's something specific, right? But anyway, I know you asked another question there. To build off that, a great colleague once said it takes 10,000 hours to truly master something. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I've heard of it as well. I think it's on to something that could be correct, right? the only thing I would add to that is you don't have to be a master to get better at something, right? So that's just to sort of help out some of you guys and girls that are like, you know, you're your own like worst critic. I'll tell you right now, your stuff's always gonna suck. It'll get tolerable, and you'll enjoy working. You'll start finding like good flow, and you'll start thinking like, wow, I can really draw this one thing that I had a lot of struggles with before. All great stuff. All great stuff. Um, but the moment you start going like, I'm comfortable, or I finally got to where I've always wanted to go in whatever it is you're doing, that's when you start to die off. I believe that's when you start going in the opposite direction. All that hard work, now you're just stagnating, you know? So when you become a master, awesome. Live that life. Enjoy it. But you learn so much along the way, for sure. And that's the thing. You know, this is the one thing I'm wondering if people look at that when they see something like it takes 10,000 hours to truly master something. So please don't look at it like I just got to put in 10,000 hours and then I'm going to be the artist that I want. In my opinion, I don't know if it's true, but what I get from that is it takes you 10,000 hours of experience to become that master. So that means it could be, 9,999 hours of shit artwork. And then you roll over into the 10,000, you're like, I get it now. And some like magical thing happens in your brain, where all of a sudden, flutes go off. And the secrets of art are just unlocked for you. That's not the case, right? It's you're going to learn so much stuff along the way, and that's the point. That's the point. I'm assuming most of you guys in here maybe you play sports or you play a video game or you're really good at something other than art, we'll say, right? How did you get that way? There could be, natural talent and ability for sure. I'm sure that plays in there somewhere. But probably it's because you spent a lot of time doing it. If I had to put my money on something, it was probably that. You put in a lot of time of getting beat up or losing, researching, trying to figure out how to get better, seeing what other people are doing, and then start doing what they do. Let's use hockey for an example. I don't really know sports, but it's like a slap shot, I imagine. It's like you can shoot as good as you think you can, but when you see somebody that's like just killing it, you maybe ask them, "Yo, what are you doing?" Or you notice that they hold their stick in a different way or something. So you start doing that. Those are the things that are like what you have to worry about. Okay, let me take it back. You don't have to worry about them, but those are the things that experience is that it's talking about. Like that's how you're going to get better. Is literally growing. I think that if there's one takeaway from the whole thing, it's that is you're going to grow over in this case the 10,000 hours there. Momo fandom. Oh yeah, it's coming everywhere, man. Hey John, how's it going? I am based in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. How's she going, eh? The tentacle stroke with fill you can do with the balloon drawing tool. Yeah, you can do it with that too. Yep. You edit on Photoshop? Awesome. I don't remember how exactly I found your channel, but I love how your streams go. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. When you how to show over, you talk about helpful subjects and work on your comic. It's not a lot of streamers. Well, cool. I'm glad you guys dig it. Some of you guys, anyway. I know there's some other streams that I follow. I'm not going to go into names or whatever, but it's almost like a salt fest, man. Like, okay, let me just say this. Some streams, a lot of it's just complaining, just straight complaining. Woe is me, whatever. And there's merit to it, for sure. Not everything should be just about like, oh, life is awesome. Everything I do is hard work and it's great. Like there's a lot of people that get shit on and stepped on and with clients and bad stuff. And that's all real. That's all real stuff. And there's great nuggets of information in a lot of those streams. And it's not just art related. Like Street Fighter is a big one I like to play. I'm no good at it, but I like to listen to it. Anyway, but you can still gain things from it. However, it's like I'm a big believer anyway, and this isn't for everybody, but what you surround yourself in is usually what your life tends to be like. A good example is if you like to hang around a lot of people that, let's say, smoke. I'm not saying smoking's bad for, well, it's bad for you, but whatever, your own decision to do whatever, right? But you don't like smoking, right? But like just hanging around that environment, you might start smoking or you might start doing things. So let's just bring that back. Let's say you're doing art and you're always, and you might not have a huge circle, you might just have one buddy you talk to, right? And they're always like running down their art, and that might, you might be this buddy, right? Where you're always like, my art sucks, I wish I was better, and blah blah blah. That like infects your brain. You plant that seed and it just hatches into like cancer, man. Whereas if you're surrounded by people that try to make you grow or try to push you a little bit, you're gonna grow like nothing. When I had my first, we'll call it a boom of like I saw art differently, was with the Marvel artist I talked to you guys about. Now he was very strict and very like to the point, and he was like nobody else I'd ever talked to, and for good and for worse. But because I was there, it's not just because he was like, "Oh, here's some books to check out." That wasn't what made me a better artist. It was, "Here's some stuff," and if I show up tomorrow, I want to impress him. I want him eventually to go like, "That's good." I want him to start saying things like, "Hey, that's cool work, man," or "Good job," as opposed to "You need to work on this and that." And that stuff is the stuff that makes you grow in all those areas, right? And I don't even know how I got into talking about this, but like, yeah, there's some streams where I'll go into, and it's all like the finger pointing and like some bad stuff, and it's just like I do believe that there's definitely, it's definitely appropriate to hear about it from some, like at some points, and then at some points it's like, okay, like we gotta relax a little bit here because it's just, where's the fun? I'm not hearing any fun, and if there's no, not that everything has to be fun, but if I don't hear fun, then it's everything's just about like worry and all this crap. I don't know. Anyway, Ben, I've been alive way longer than 10,000 hours. I still suck at living though. Oh, well done. Well done. You found the loophole. You found the loophole. Okay, well, here's an example. I'll just throw it at you here. So if you still suck at living after 10,000 hours, are you still doing the same habits? What is it? The definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing, expecting a different result. And then you go into the next analogy of that. It's like using the same recipe to make chocolate cake, and you're wondering why you're not getting vanilla. You have to change the recipe. You have to change some stuff. So if life sucks for you, are you still doing the same stuff that keeps it sucking? And to be honest, most of us do, right? So what are the small little things you can do, or the huge things you can do to just fix it and try? What's the worst that's gonna happen? Your life's still gonna suck. It sounds horrible. It sounds really bad. La 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 la. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. JESOP King video game? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hey, Key Guy, how's it going? Thank you. Thank you for popping in. Yeah, Alec, you're right. You're absolutely right. I like listening to other people that talk about like business and social media stuff. It has nothing to do with art, and I learned so much stuff from that stuff too. Can't figure it out, so I'm just going to outline how. Oh, VF. Okay, you still trying to figure out this thing? Okay, here, I'll show you. I'll show you some pro tips. I hate calling them pro tips, by the way. Give me 1 second here. What the hell is this layer? Kill you. So let me get this gray going here. 1 second. I'm just going to gush a little bit here. I don't want to be too pompous, but I really enjoy how these guys look, like how their design came out. It's very simple to draw, um, which is huge. And I'm excited to keep drawing these guys going forward with like, once they take them to the place that they're like Jessup and Momo, once these Doblins take them to that place. That English was horrible. Anyway, there's going to be different versions of like big guys, like wizards or something like that, right? But they're just super fun to draw. It's quick, it's easy. It kind of reminds me, I tried to go a little He-Man with them. They might not look like it, but with like the bracers or little things like that are just little nooks and crannies on them. It felt like a He-Man design. It's not, but it was really cool. Really cool design of these guys. I'm glad, and it didn't take too long. Not to toot my own horn, but just it didn't take too long, and the process was flowing good, which is great. It means that things are firing on all cylinders, and that doesn't happen a lot. That's rare that it happens. So when it does, whew, you just sort of have to ride it and trust that like you will get through it. Okay. I'm going to go back and check what you guys are saying. I just want to go to, okay, so VF. So you can see this, okay? So all you got to do is you have to make a brand new layer, okay? Always has to be on a brand new layer. Grab your brush. Let me go with like a dark color. And think of it this way. Whatever I'm about to draw here, I'll do the shoelaces because everybody loves the shoelaces. So whatever you're drawing, whatever you're drawing, even though it's a blob, the outside of it is going to be the line art, okay? So I have an action, which means I've recorded, if you don't know what an auto action is, it's basically you can record a bunch of processes and steps so that when you stop recording it, if you hit play, it'll always do those actions, which is huge, obviously for this case, right? But what you do is you just have them all on a separate layer. You're going to hold control on your keyboard, and you're going to click inside the checkered box on the layer here. Okay, so when you click in there, if you notice what happens to the line art, you get like these dancing lines around it. All you do from here is you reduce the selection or shrink selected area to the size that you want your line art. Now, if you guys know, I do the Freddie Williams method, which everything's usually about a 3-pixel brush, right? So you can see I'm going to shrink the selection by 3. And if you see, it's going to go in there. And now you can either hit delete or you can fill it with white if you want objects to fill or like stack over top of each other. And I'll show you an example. So I'm going to fill it with white, and there you go. Now I just created line art, right? Now I know it looks a little weird because we got the background, but if I turn it off, look, it looks like it's line art, right? So I'm going to make a new layer, and we're going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to show you the shoelaces because everybody digs these things. So I'm just going to draw the laces coming here. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing again. Control, click inside here, reduce the selection or shrink the selection. I'm going to fill it with white. We're going to make a new layer. And all we're doing is I know this might seem like magic. The first time you start using it, it really is like magic. But if you understand the software a little bit, you start going, oh, I understand a little bit more what I'm doing here. We're just going to do it again. And we'll fill it with white. And that's it. That's all you've done. Now, why this is cool is because like now, even though they're on their own separate layers, you can still move them, right? Like if you don't like certain things. And that's it. That's really all you're doing. And then when you're inking, just for you guys, when you're inking, so you can go in there and you can add your line weights and all that stuff like that. But maybe you want to also draw in white, which is the whole point of putting it in white, right? And if I'm going in white, I can start to clean some of this up. Maybe I want to like thin some of these lines up here, something like that. Like look at that. That looks a little bit more like it was hand drawn, but it's not. It's just a layer on top of things. It's all like wizardry. It's anyway. I hope that made sense to you. Okay. All right. You know what we're gonna do here, guys? I'm going to stop because the time is about done anyway. I'm going to answer you guys' questions. So if you guys had any more questions, please jam them in the chat. I'm going to do my best to go back and just answer them all for you here before we take off. Okay. Power cord. Going on a 10 to 15 minute walk can be a bigger change than you think. Just expanding on changing patterns. I believe you're right on that, man. I'm trying to do that myself, getting to doing more walking. So, like this body here takes work. I know. Eating is anyway. That's another topic for another day. Michael, I think the one thing we all can do to make life not suck would be to ask Gina Carano to spar a couple rounds. I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. Female fighter of some kind? Key guy. This goes to something I've read or heard about, the 10,000 hours rule. Just existing or going through the motions in those hours won't get you better. Intentional practice, review, repeat. Exactly. Yep. That's exactly right. That's at least the way I always looked at it too. Because I don't think I put 10,000. Maybe I did put 10,000 out. Like we worked at the dollar store for probably 10. Maybe I don't know. We'll just round up and say a gentleman's 10,000 hours. And I don't think I got better at the job. I got better at not doing the job. I can tell you that for sure. Pro tips, but yeah. Ugh. pain in the jar. Oh, here we go. Oh, awesome, Justin. I'm glad. I'm glad. I knew how to do that part. I was thinking there was function action thing. Oh, no, no. Yeah. So, yeah, if you don't know how to make an action, I can show you that another time. Or you can just look online. I don't even know if it's super easy. Right? Literally right here, there's like the auto action button. You might have to go window auto action, whatever. And you just click this button here, new. You name it. I'm not going to go through it or whatever. Then you start, what's it called? Recording. And then you hit stop. Then you're done. Then you go to File, Shortcut Settings, and you find wherever it is, and then you add a shortcut key to it. Or you can just leave this open and press play whenever you want to do it. I don't know if you got all that. You can always go back in the stream and rewatch it. So, yeah, I know. Time goes super quick doing this stuff. What's the one thing that prevents you guys from quitting art and everything, and everyone suggests it's time to let it go? That is a crazy question. You know what? I'll try to keep this story short. It's not going to be short then, we know, right? But the last, I'd say, we'll say 6 months or whatever it is that I made the decision to start just doing this and not even trying for Marvel DC because I never really did, even though that's what everybody says I should do and I thought I did and all that stuff like that. The one thing I will say is, again, it just gets back to doing the why. Why are you drawing? If you're drawing because you enjoy it, then that's why would you ever give up something you enjoy? It's not hurting you, right? It's not like it's drugs or something, except coffee and all that kind of stuff. But if it's something you enjoy, there's no reason to stop doing it. Now, if that's all you do is draw and you start like forgetting like your family and your friends and all that stuff, well, that's a choice you make, right? And it's up to you to decide whether it's good or bad. When people, maybe if it's somebody else telling you, like, hey, you're old as balls right now, and why, if you still haven't made it yet, why are you even still doing it? I think that's just getting into those are, in my opinion, those are toxic people, and you can't surround yourself around those people. If they're your family and friends, it's a lot tougher. And I'm not sure, like, if my girlfriend, anyway, she's not my wife, right? So I'm not saying I'm gonna break up, but married, like divorce and all that stuff, it's a lot harder, right? But you would probably know the person that you're with, and if you're in that situation, whatever. But if you're surrounding yourself, like if you're staying in a relationship just to prove people wrong, I'm sure that there's some fire in that can help you get some drive and to keep it going. The hard part is that there's nobody on your side. Nobody like in your life that's on your side. That maybe, like, I think a lot of us, we don't even need those people that are saying like, that have the answers to what you're doing, but you just want those people saying like, I'm proud of you, or yeah, you keep doing what you got to do. Of course I want to see you succeed. You need more of that in your life, in my opinion. I mean, that goes for anything you're doing and everything you're doing. It's every choice is bad and good at the same time, so it's hard to know that the ones that you're making are the right ones. You know, like not really regret, I suppose, but when I was telling you guys about, I do get people saying like, "Wow, you should work for Marvel DC. It's great," and I'm humbled by that always. And like I said, kind of at the earliest part of the stream here is the reason why I never really did, and just to be real with myself, was because I don't want to do that. The idea of drawing that stuff doesn't make me excited. And it's a real thing that I personally have had to do, to think about that, because that changes all this stuff, right? Like your question, what's the one thing that prevents you guys from quitting art and everything? And everyone suggests it's time to let it go. You gotta, it's you. You're the only one that matters. You gotta, like, you only get one shot at life. I don't care if you're religious and you believe you're gonna go somewhere else or reincarnate. I don't care about any of that. Do with what you got and what you know, which is right now, and the time you have right now has got to be what's in your best interest. And you could be like me, right? There's a lot of myself I don't like, physically and all that kind of stuff, right? Which I'm sure is normal for everybody. But art is the one thing that it's always been, for me, it's been a rock. It's something I could always get into and do. And since I've been doing that for so long, I'm confident with it. But I'm still open to hear suggestions to grow. But, I will say, because a lot of the time, like growing up, I've said it before, life wasn't easy, but it wasn't as hard as a lot of people. But some of the hard stuff was some bad stuff, and because of art, I was able to just sort of like close my door and just be in a different world, and that was I needed that. But the bad side of that is, as I grew up, I never addressed those problems that I grew up with. So my whole like development stage was just an isolation for a large portion of time. I'm better now because I'm grown up, kind of, but there's still some messed up stuff. But to say is like, even though I was in there doing that, it was the one thing that was mine, and I was always able to go to it, and it never told me I sucked. It never told me I was shit. I was always the one saying that, and that's why every time I see people say this, like, I need to get better. Why can't I draw better? Or what's the secret thing? And it's just spending time with it is it. And I would hope, I know everybody draws and everybody does things for different reasons, but I just hope that if you're somebody that's still drawing and you're still doing your thing, that it's a growing experience and it's a positive thing. And if it's not doing that for you, then maybe look into moving on or whatever. But I would say, if you're, I don't know, just the I'm gonna end with this: surround yourself with people that see where you're going, and if they're not, you need to get them out of your life. Because I'll tell you right now, right now, if I went through the rest of my life with people in my life telling me you need to stop drawing or you need to move on, and I took that seriously, I would go crazy. Like, I would, like, that. There's so much doubt there that it's like, maybe they're right, maybe right, and that's bad, because like, those people, they might have their best interests in mind for you, but at the same time, they're probably not artists, right? That's like, you want to play basketball, but you don't know anybody in your family that's a basketball player, and they're saying you need to give it up. I'm sure there's not a direct parallel to that, but just surround yourself with people that will help you out. And if they're not there, you got to find them. And if they're not there, you got to be that person, so that when there's somebody else that comes around, you can help them out. That's I don't know. That's the way I've always looked at it. But anyway, I don't even know if that answered your question. But okay, Alec. Yeah, I will do that. Thanks, man. Okay, well, thank you guys for popping in today. And if you're watching the recorded version, thanks. I hope you made it all the way through. And if you didn't, I understand. And if you didn't, you wouldn't even hear me say this. So we'll just stop with that. Anyway, I'm going to say bye. I'll most likely be streaming on the weekend. Maybe even tomorrow. I'm not sure. Probably around the same time. Maybe a little bit later. But we're going to be going. Like I said at the start, for those people that came in at the end here, where Jessup is right now, we're going to be coloring the last 4 pages, and that'll be 16 pages in the bank, which is great. Then I'm going to put this on pause for like a week or two. I've got to make the logo, and we're going to just shift the focus onto get it ready. Meaning the website, all the other places that we're going to post, make sure all that's good to go. So that once that's done, all I need to worry about is letting people know that, hey, the comic's going to be coming out. I'm assuming, like I said, probably early March, maybe March 1st, somewhere around there. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. And then after that, guess what? It's post it, and then the real learning experience begins. Once it's live in the wild, then it's like, okay, now we officially have a webcomic going, and what's all the bad and the scary that comes with that. And then we just start learning, and it's going to be exciting, it's nervous, it's scary, it's all those things. But anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys, like usual. And until next time, keep reading comics, keep making comics. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.